When screenings and assessments reveal the need for prevention or treatment programs, ensure that the child is linked to services that are appropriate and accessible for the child and their family.
But once I've identified the risks and protective factors within a family, it's important to begin the dialogue. Providers often shy away from discussing risk factors with the sense or idea that if you talk about it before it exists, you might plant these kinds of negative expectations in a family's head. And I don't find that to be true. I think that having those conversations, even before they become symptoms, reduces the stigma around the idea that these symptoms may at one point present themselves. What it also allows you to do is give a family some signs, some things to look for so that they can recognize on their own, under their own authority, when things have become symptomatic and worthwhile for intervention. When I identify protective factors early in the process, in the assessment, I like to bolster the family with an understanding that these are actually protective factors. Many families don't recognize them as such. And a lot of times when families come for treatment, they're already feeling like they've done something wrong, that they can't help themselves. And so by identifying protective factors, you empower them to know that you're just there as part of the team to help them to build additional skills, but they already have some that are working well.
Before we conclude this lesson, please be sure to remember the following. As you know, mental health providers are mandatory reporters and must adhere to reporting requirements where they practice. Screening for risk factors and evidence of ACEs may uncover information that triggers the mandatory reporting requirements in your state. Adhere to your local requirements if any relevant information is uncovered during screenings or assessments.
So mandated reporting, although it is in place to protect children and also to protect providers, can also be seen as antagonistic. To some extent, providers shy away from really deep assessments, especially in their initial visits with a family, because they are concerned about the idea that if abuse were reported, they'd have to engage in a much longer intervention in that moment than just a simple intake. But it's not an excuse for providers to shy away from really probing and having conversations, especially with at-risk populations, that may reveal an abuse history. I can think of one family wherein I was treating an adolescent who was a victim of sexual abuse by a stranger. And in the course of treatment, revealed that she'd been physically abused by her mother, who was engaged in treatment. And so in instances like that, I'll be just as transparent as possible to let the child know and the parent know that a report will be made, but let's spend some time discussing some of the protective factors and positive traits that you've developed and skills that you have that we can advocate for the growth and progress that you've made and for your ability to continue to provide a safe home for your child. So in this particular instance, and in all instances where a disclosure of abuse is made in the course of treatment, I make a report with the parent in the room, and I involve them in the process as a way of breaking down the distrust that often exists in the healthcare relationship. I try to have conversations with the parent about why this call is being made and to try to eliminate some of the fear or concern that as a healthcare provider you're there to disrupt their home or to enhance the shame that they may already feel about the way things have transpired.
Please proceed to Lesson 3.